Hope you don't get sleepy after lunch, you know? Siesta? Yeah, but still, it's okay. Session is gonna be about the Headless Drupal. Who knows what is Headless Drupal? A lot of people, perfect. Who have seen this session before? Good, it's perfect. So I can just repeat the same jokes. It's really good. Yes, come in, don't be shy. So that's me, it's Ruben Teijeiro. That's me working in an office with one friend napping. That's my Twitter handle. If you want to complain about this session, just send some constructive or destructive feedback. I'm gonna put the slides here so I can look at them from here and don't break my neck. Good. So I come from Spain, beautiful and sunny Spain, mostly from Sevilla, from the south of Spain. And now I'm living in Sweden. It's not sunny anymore, and it's dark, and but it's so nice. It's a nice country. Been living there for 4 years. And yeah, I also drive this Drupal Heroes initiative. You find the stickers in the reception. The community, Greek community, had the pleasure to print it. Thank you for that. And also you can follow the Twitter handle. I share some stuff about Drupal and also, yes, some crappy tips. Let's get started. So it's like the front-end, you know, moves faster than not only Drupal nowadays. It's more or less, it moves faster than any other backend technology. And that's, I guess that's something that you already experience, you know, in your probably current projects or your past projects. So this quote is from eTeens. It's from DrupalCon Amsterdam, I guess. So this inspired me to just start this presentation. So I guess you have seen this picture before. So I guess there are JavaScript frameworks for every word in the dictionary. There's a beer.js, pancake.js. It's a lot, you know, JavaScript frameworks. All the time there's one popping up. And also, you know, trend in the market is like mobile web applications, web apps, hybrid apps. So it's a lot of different combinations of technologies to provide a better experience for the user, and everything is mobile. It's not working. Good. So you also have browserless devices. Does anyone in the room have an Apple Watch? Yes? Perfect. Can you tell me how you browse a website with the Apple Watch?
I don't.
You can't? Why? Because you don't have a browser in the...
Browser.
Exactly. It's not only that the screen is so small, it's that you don't have even a browser. So how you can create, you know, digital applications for your Apple Watch or any other wearable. So that's what's going on currently. And also these kind of things, the Internet of Things, like these devices that are sensors, that they gather data, and also they are fed with data, but they don't have even a screen, okay? Or even a drone, for example. Only you can control a drone with a web application. So, on the other hand, we have also different approaches in web architectures. So I don't know if you experienced this before. So I come from this world from 10 years ago when we started web applications. So you start to put everything on top of the same platform. So when you have a website, then you need an e-commerce platform. You just add more functionality on top of the same platform, then you need a blog, you put more functionality on top of the same application, or you need a CRM, or you need integrations with whatever, and all is in the same code base. So that's difficult to maintain. If you have something that is broken, all the sites or all the different functionalities goes down, or all the platform goes down. So in this case, it's some serious, and more or less this is a graphical description of what happened. So everything just collapses, goes down. And we have another approach that is kind of just separate your platforms and do integrations between them, using web services. And that's more or less what they call microservices architecture, like a separate your platforms depending on the functionality that they provide. In this case, you can just do it this way, like your e-commerce platform. You can use, let's say, Magento or Drupal or even Hybris or whatever. You can use for your blog WordPress, why not? Even though it's a Drupal conference, we still consider that WordPress is a good platform for blogging and for other stuff as well. I don't know, you can use for your CRM, CV CRM, or, and you integrate it using web services. Okay. And the graphical description for this one is something like this. Doesn't make any sense, but like everything works. And why Drupal is, in my case, is because I have like almost 7 years experience with Drupal, but not only because of that, because there's a lot of people that say, yeah, why do you pretend to do everything with Drupal? Yeah, because now Drupal, that latest version, Drupal 8, who tried Drupal 8 already? Good. Who didn't try Drupal 8 yet? Good. We had to do that together. So,
no.
no? Okay, what is brand new and what is the best thing in Drupal? First is we brought some approaches from the Symfony community, and probably Symfony, they got a lot of good practices from Java World. So in this case, what we did is like decoupling components, so we can reuse them along different projects, but not only Drupal or Symfony, I mean in the whole PHP ecosystem. That means that there is a lot of benefits of having only one component, having to maintain only one component. A good example is, let's say that we have a login component that is PHP or Symfony, but is used by Drupal, by WordPress, by Magento, the same login component. If there is a security issue in that component, all the communities will benefit from a patch, a security patch. That means that we don't need to maintain one login component for WordPress, one for Drupal, one for Symfony. That's, in this case, we are diversifying a little bit more the effort, and we are just bringing communities together. So that's one of the benefits of switching to Symfony. Even a lot of people complain. It's pretty sad that Morten couldn't make it to Frontend United. But Morten certified the Drupal 8 frontend. He brought Twig to Drupal 8. That in this case, he and all the people involved in bringing it just made the frontend life easier to a lot of people. Because now is Drupal 6 and 7, the frontend was really bad. It was tedious with PHP templates and blah blah blah. A lot of PHP code in the templates, so it was ridiculously difficult. Also, people prefer to switch to WordPress because it makes more sense to a designer, front-end developer. Like, yeah, I can understand this. In this case, Twig is opening the borders to bring people that they don't know anything about PHP or anything about Drupal, and they don't need to know. So they just read Twig template, and it's pretty, more or less natural language. And then we have improvements in performance. So when you build an application with Drupal, you have a lot of benefits. Let's say like a dynamic page cache. That means that you can just have cache not only in the page itself, but also in portions of the page. And you can invalidate those portions, not the whole page, only just parts. And depending on the context, let's say if the user is visiting from this location, or if the user has this role, or I don't know, or the language, or I don't know, different contexts, you can invalidate the cache. Big pipe. Who knows what is big pipe? Big pipe is not that pipe there. It's okay, this is a big pipe as well, but it's not the one that is in Drupal 8. This is like a technology that Bean Lears brought from Facebook. Is when you load Facebook, I assume that some people use Facebook. When you load it, you can see that it's like kinda faking, that is loading blocks and stuff, and then it appears like placeholders with some boxes. So it's just creating a good experience for the user, like if something is happening. So Drupal has the same technology, and it's really easy to integrate it with your system. Let's say that you have a block that is loading data from a web service, and the web service, for example, the database or whatever, is a little bit slow. So your page loads, and that block is not ready yet. So if you don't have big pipe, then the page is gonna take longer. Hello, Laurie.
Hello.
So in this case, what it's gonna do is load the whole page, and the block will load later when the database and the web service returns the data. So that's big pipe, and also that's pretty good for Drupal itself. We have a lot of improvements in UX. There's a lot of people doing really good things for UX. We have Christina out there just fiddling with her phone, but she is doing a really good job making Drupal more beautiful and more and better for humans. And then we have a lot of improvements for accessibility. So we really care about accessibility. So when you build any platform with Drupal, you automatically, out of the box, you have a lot of accessibility benefits. Oh, this is completely broken. Multilingual. This morning, it was yesterday? No, actually it was yesterday, yes. We've been talking about how you build a multilingual platform, using a front-end technology, and multilingual is really difficult. The right to left languages, or left to right, or translations, blah blah. How you just maintain this madness? In this case, Drupal 8 is out of the box is multilingual, so you just install a new language, and you can start to have translation for all your content and even your configuration information. So this is pretty good, and it was a pain in the ass in Drupal 7. And security, a lot of security things. Even after having a Drupal Geddon and this stuff, we still work really hard, and we have a really good security team working actively in patching. And we have I guess 1 or 2 hours they fix when there is any vulnerability discovered. Oh, I really hate this clicker. So in this case, Drupal is API first. So why I did this introduction? Because in this case, what is the approach of Drupal is to provide an API to get benefits from all this stuff, but also when you need to integrate your applications in the previous scenarios that I shared, let's say with your browserless device or with your Internet of Things sensors or whatever. So you automatically, when you have Drupal, you have an API where you can access information from Drupal. So retrieve information from Drupal without needing a browser or whatever. And the initiative is just continue evolving Drupal to be API first, and then we continue being like a CMS, okay? But that's what we are aiming for. And that's why Headless Drupal comes in. So people prefer decoupling, I prefer Headless Drupal. And decoupling means separation. And the separation can be like fully decoupled and also progressively decoupled. So these are the terms that we are using nowadays. Come in, don't be shy. In this case, what you can decouple is in Drupal you can decouple your frontend. It means like what the users or your visitors of your application see. is one good example is Tesla panel. So this is not confirmed yet. So I heard this. So can I don't know if anyone in the room can confirm if the Tesla panel is the backend is running Drupal 8. You know? Nope. Yes, I heard that. You know? Yeah, you heard the same. Yeah. Good. Okay, but anyway, I put this because it looks cool. You know, it's cool. The Tesla cars are running with Drupal. So hope they don't crash. So what they did is the panel just connects with a backend, let's say that is Drupal 8, and just gathers information from there. It's like it just. Another good example is Lufthansa, the media entertainment system on board is built in Drupal 8, and this is the proof because this is a LinkedIn job advertisement from Lufthansa to hire people to work on that project. The team is in Hungary. Actually, I was in Hungary gathering with the team, so this is confirmed. Yeah, and this the idea is a decoupled application where you get into the plane and then you connect with your smartphone or your tablet and you can just watch movies or TV series or even magazines, you know, with a really good, you know, good UX and with a good looking application, and all is driven by Drupal in the backend. But you can also decouple your editorial UI, let's say like the admin UI, you know, when you're logging in Drupal and you start to configure stuff or whatever. In this case, in Drupal, we are working doing that, but we didn't do it. But in WordPress, they have a project that is called Calypso, and they did it. They built it in React, and you can just use WordPress without using the WordPress UI. So you can use Calypso instead. So as you can see, it's not only Drupal what is aiming for the coupling initiative. Oh crap! And then we have accessible solutions like this thingy, Alexa. I don't know if I can play the video. I hope so because I have Ethernet. So let me see if I can play it. No. Crap. Let me play it here. It's just 40 seconds. This is from Georgia Gov, the government of Georgia.
Start Georgia Gov.
Welcome to Georgia Gov. Feel free to ask a question.
How do I renew my driver's license?
Does this sound helpful? Getting and renewing a driver's license.
Yes.
The Department of Driver Services helps you earn, renew or replace learner's permits and licenses. To carry a full license for everyday, non-commercial vehicles, you must be at least 16 years old.
So more or less briefly, what it does is connect to Alexa with a website, in this case a Drupal website from Georgia Gov, and automatically it just shows. You just ask a question, and with some speech recognition that is brought by Amazon Lex, it just translates what you said in different choices, and what Drupal does is select one of the choices and trigger a web service where it gathers some information, and that information comes from the website. In this case, you ask how I can renew my driver license, and then they gather the information from the website and just responds. I had another video, just like a retail simulation, where you ask if there is my favorite beer brand in the supermarket. You just ask Alexa, and if there is a beer, then you say just order a couple of 6-packs. So more or less, that's what you can do. There is a Drupal module for that. It's called Alexa, and it has a really, really easy to understand API where you can start to build your applications. Then we have also connection with artificial intelligence. There's a video for that as well. Ah, good. Let me put this video.
Have you ever had trouble
2
crafting
minutes.
the perfect menu for a dinner party, or have just been too busy to put one together? Shane is swamped at work. Her Friday is packed with back-to-back meetings when she suddenly realizes that she invited her friends over for a barbecue tomorrow, and she doesn't know what food she's going to prepare. She opens the app for her favorite supermarket, Fresh Market, and taps on Chat Now with FreshBot. She's heard FreshBot makes it quicker and easier to shop for exactly what she needs, but she's never tried it. FreshBot says hi. Shayna interacts with FreshBot, which asks her questions to figure out exactly what she needs for her event, like what kind of meal it is, and how many people will be there. FreshBot uses an interaction model to know what questions to ask, like if anyone has any dietary restrictions. Thanks to FreshBot's reminder, Shayna remembers that her friend Ali recently became a vegetarian. Almost instantly, FreshBot sends her a list of recipes drawn from a database on the Fresh Market Drupal site. Some entrees, some sides, and Shayna's pretty impressed. This barbecue's gonna rock. She decides to check out the hamburger recipe to see how many steps there are to make it, so the app serves the recipe content directly from the Fresh Market Drupal site. FreshBot asks her if she wants it to put together all of the ingredients into a handy shopping list. Shayna, realizing she only has time to stop by Fresh Market tonight after work, says yes. FreshBot stores her selected recipes on the website for later. After grabbing coffee, Shayna goes back to work at her desk. Just as she's about to leave work, Shayna decides to take a look at how long that shopping list is before she heads to the store. She goes to the Fresh Market website where she's logged into her account. Shayna goes to her My Shopping List page, where she sees all the ingredients from the recipes automatically pulled into one convenient list. She's pretty happy with the length of the list, so she shuts her laptop and makes her way out the door. Off to Fresh Market.
So briefly, this is just how you build like an artificial intelligence bot for chatting. And actually, the White House built one for Facebook. It connects using the Facebook API. So you can ask the White House their Facebook page using the Facebook Messenger. You can ask them some stupid things, and then the bot answers. And they open source the module that they use. It's a Drupal 8 module for the White House, and it's pretty straightforward to create your artificial intelligence. The good thing, apart of that, is that you can connect it to let's say Amazon Lex as well, or even IBM Watson or Bluemix. They're like machine learning platforms. So then your application becomes more intelligent every time that the people interact with it. So those are another applications. So after this, where you can just gather more information, this is Drupal related. So we have different initiatives that they are like, driven by community people. This is JSON API. This is it's like the JSON API implementation for Drupal. This is Mateo, a Spanish friend. He built it. He's driving it pretty well. So you have the two modules: is the JSON API and the JSON API extras. This opens pretty much standard API, so you can just export content from Drupal and just feed it with your frontend application or whatever you build to connect with. GraphQL, that's another initiative using GraphQL from Facebook. Do you know who knows GraphQL? Good. So GraphQL is like it's complex for me to explain it, but it's like a language that more or less you can query a database using more or less a natural language where you just you don't know how is the database structure, but the GraphQL explains it at the same time that you are just writing it. So in this case, probably it's much better if I show a demo. So than if I explain it. So the link to the demo is here as well if you want to try, and the module is as well there. But I'm gonna try to do a quick demo and see if it works. I guess I have internet, so it should work. Good. Let me sit down. Good. So, let me start from scratch. I'm gonna make this bigger. that big enough?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Good. This. So you just start with curly brackets. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good. Great. You start with the curly brackets, and then you say, okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do. This is the Swappy. It's like the Star Wars API. So let's start to ask for movies, films. Let's say, oh, I want all films. And now I say, okay, what I need. Okay, you don't know what to write. You can press Control spacebar, and then you say, oh, yeah, I'm gonna just grab the films. You just open curly brackets, and you say, okay, what else I can get? Oh, the title. That's fine. And I just trigger this, and those are they're missing the last ones, but you can see those are the title of the Star Wars movies. And I say, yeah, I want as well something else, like starships. And say, what else I have here? Oh, the starships in every movie. And I say, okay, the name of the starships in every movie. Yes, in A New Hope you have the Corvette, Star Destroyer, the Death Star. I say, oh, I have everything here for sure. But not only that, let's say, oh, yep. Let's say, just messing with the markup. Characters. Let's try characters. What I can get? The characters as well. I can get the name. Yes. The hair color for sure. And the what's the language or something? I was language or something. Okay, I can find it now. But you can get even the height. And I just trigger it. And you say, Luke Skywalker is blonde and is like 172 centimeters. So it's like you don't know about the database itself, how it's structured, but it's GraphQL is self-explanatory. Okay. You want to continue seeing a little bit more, or no? The Star Wars good. We'll come back later to this. No worries. So as I said, GraphQL is much better to explain it, with a demo than describing it. So this is brought by Fubi or Sebastian. It's from Vienna. And he hates that I share this slide, so I continue doing that. Okay. This is his Twitter handle. If you want to tweet him, like Ruben did it again. So workflow initiative. This is a pretty good one. I really like what they are doing with this. For me, it's mind blowing. So what is this exactly? So what this does is that it creates, it's like a bunch of modules that allows your Drupal site to have different stages of content. Let's say that you have a development, environment, your stage or testing environment, and your production environment. You know that you just follow this workflow in Git, for the code. But what happened with the content? So let's say that you want to deploy something to production, and then but you want to use the production content as well. So in this case, you have to take the database from production into stage, for example, for testing and these kind of things. Or let's say that you want to deploy content to production without just ripping off all your content in production. What this allows is to create this kind of content deployment, okay? And then you just trigger content, when you have in your testing, your editors check that the content is perfect, they can just press a button and deploy it automatically to production. And not only to production, but let's say that you have 6 or 7 platforms and you want to deploy one article to those 6 or 7 platforms, just pressing one button. So this is possible. Sadly, I had a demo about this, but I screwed it, and then with the crappy Wi-Fi, I couldn't make it work. So now that I have cable, I could fix it, but I don't have time. But we can just take it later if you want. I can show you something. These are the modules, multi-version, that allows to have multiple versions of the same piece of content with a unique ID. Replication, that allows to just deploy deploy is this one. Replication, just So this is the one that is helping deploy to do the replication along the different environments. Workspace that creates the different environments that you're going to use, let's say dev stage or whatever. And Relaxed Web Services, that is a good implementation of web services, improving the ones that are in Drupal core. So we don't like the ones that are in Drupal core, so we build new ones. Probably those are candidates to replace the ones that we have in Drupal core. It uses the CouchDB structure of data, and it's like more or less simulates that Drupal is a CouchDB database. So you can just get all the data in JSON and using more or less the same way that you are connecting with a CouchDB database. Workbench moderation for moderate the different states and deploy. So you have this website where everything is explained much better than I did. You can download the modules. It's not difficult to install and to configure, and it's pretty much really stable. And Relaxed Web Services. Oh, I'm gonna throw the clicker. And this is built by Dick Olson. He's a Swedish friend. He's a really good guy. And when I was doing some research for crappy pictures about him, I found this one, and it looks like he was a championship, like a Swedish championship in go-karting. I was impressed, so I couldn't make some fun about him, so I just did this. And this is his Twitter handle. Actually, I'm trying to challenge him in a race to see if he's that good. And we have a water wheel. This is by Preston, and it's like an SDK for both JavaScript and for Swift, like the iOS language. So you can build applications to connect with Drupal and pretty much in a really fancy and good way. Everything is in GitHub. It's pretty well documented, and there is a module for, I forgot to put the module link probably. There's a module for Drupal that exposes the API in a different way than the Drupal core does. Okay, and there are market trends not only in Drupal, but it's more or less in the world, in the techie world. In this case, this is a content hub. I know that I'm sharing a lot of stuff about Akia. Akia is not paying me for sharing this, but those are really good concepts. Like the concept of content repositories. I have seen that, in so many platforms that they are like enterprise and expensive, really expensive, like Quark, for example. And this concept is really good because what you use is your platform, Drupal platform, that I manage content. It's a content management system, and it does really well the content management. Why you don't use Drupal for that? And then you just store all your content there, and what you do is you just export the content to different platforms, and you have a lot of tools to do it correctly. And in this case, what you have is all the content workflow and all the content, let's say like the editorial workflows and this stuff. You have them in Drupal. And what Akia did is a service, but this is not really difficult to do in Drupal 8. So this is something that you can do, with a few configuration. But this is a good thing. Also for media, for example, now that the media module and the media entities are pretty much stable and good in Drupal, you can create a multimedia repository that where you can just manage your images, videos, and this kind of media assets. There's some noise, background noise. And there are in the market also this Contentful that is like an API first CMS, more or less the same approach that we are aiming for. And I'm messing with the speaker. Yeah. Another one that is open source. This is Directus. They launched a beta a few weeks ago, and this is pretty much interesting because it's built in Symfony, it's PHP, and it's open source, and it's a headless CMS. They define it like a headless CMS. I just recommend to give it a try, because what I'm getting is really cool ideas that we can just put in Drupal from this one. It's pretty good, and it's really easy to customize. And demos. I don't know how much time I have, but I'm gonna try to do a couple of quick demos, and then we go for the questions. I have 10 minutes, 20? 20? 20 minutes, wow. Great. So this is a Drupal 8 site that I pre-configure a little bit, but I'm gonna explain what I did, because it was no coding at all. So it's what I did is sorry, not too much. Is that okay, or a little bit more? Good. So let me go to the bottom. This is for the ones that didn't try Drupal yet. I'm explaining. You go to extend is where you just have a look at your modules. Then I go to web services group, where you have a lot of modules. Relaxed web services that I explain, and the HTTP basic authentication, HAL, REST UI, and blah blah blah. So I enable all of them. What it does, at least when you enable RESTful web services and REST UI, is you automatically expose all your content, and let's say all your entities in Drupal. You expose them in REST web services using probably HAL or JSON data. It depends if you enable JSON and HAL or not. So if we go to, I guess what's configuration, you have REST, and you can see all the entities that are provided by Drupal. I don't have anyone enabled, so in this case what I can do is find a content one, like for example node. I can enable nodes to be automatically exported using, for get requests. I'm gonna use JSON, and I'm gonna use basic authentication. You can use cookie. We have more authentication providers, let's say OAuth or whatever. You can use as well, you can enable post requests, saying JSON probably. Post is not fixed for JSON only, so you have to use HAL JSON. That's something I had to double check. There was an issue with this one. You can use delete, basic authentication, and patch is update. I guess patch was HAL JSON as well. In this case, I'm gonna disable authentication for get, because it's only reading, so I can just. Okay, crap. I have to use this one. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So then you define how you want to expose your content in this case, and in which methods, and then you already have it set. As you can see, you can even all the content and configuration in Drupal is their entities. So you have configuration and content entities. So those can be exposed using the API. So like comments as well. Let's say files or even menu items. Who wants to export a menu from Drupal? Roles, or even probably taxonomy terms and vocabularies, and users, for example, just between others. So I just enable this. That means that I should be able to access content. Probably have some content created. This is from Northern Lights. You can see that I just reused the same presentation. So this is node 2. I'm gonna have a look. I'm gonna show you. Let me go out from here. I have a.
Start down the screen.
Yes. Sorry. Good.
It's cutting out.
It enters.
Oh crap! Yeah. Yes. No worries. So let me try to read first, because I'm not sure if this is gonna work. So what I'm gonna do, so this is my hints or my cheat sheet. What I'm gonna do is node, we say node 2. So I'm gonna try to read node 2. So it's like in the HAL JSON format, and it's the request, the get request. And what I get is gibberish, but you can see that it's exactly the blah blah blah. Okay. Good thing is I can do this again. And we are gonna create gonna create content using core, if anyone doesn't know what I'm doing, just ask me. You can stop me anytime. So for creating content, we have to send a post request, as you can see here, with my super secure user and password. And I use HAL and JSON format. What I'm gonna create is an entity node, and here is my data. Like type is node page. I'm gonna create a basic page, and the title is node created using core at Frontend United. Okay. And this is the body using core at Frontend United. I do this, and then I get I don't know what I got. Got something here. Created 201 created. That means that is good, and also it returns the content I created. What I go is to content, and as you can see, I'm not cheating. It's exactly the same one that I created with using core. So you can do the same using your JavaScript framework, your favorite JavaScript framework, or even using any other stuff that you want. Let's go back to the cheat sheet. What I'm gonna do is update exactly the node that I created now. That is like the node 4. Let's go and update it. In this case, the request that I use is patch, as you can see here, with my super secure user and password. And I use the HAL JSON format, and the node, as I said, is the 4, is the one that I'm gonna update. The type is a page, and now updated using core at Frontend. This is updated, and I say probably at this time people is napping. And response is 200, okay, that's pretty good. And then it returns the content. Let's go back, refresh, and you can see that it's okay. It works. It's ridiculous. I don't know how it's working. And let's do delete. This is the best one. It always works. So what I'm gonna delete is because I like this so much, I'm gonna delete, which one do you want? The
Test.
Test, yes, because it sucks. 3, okay? So let's delete the 3. I do this, and then it says 204 no content, but still, we go, I refresh. What? Crap. Yeah, but it's, okay, it was cached. So it's not here. So what's the scare? Okay, so now it's gone, okay? Good. Do you want me to show anything else about exactly this, or we move forward? Move forward, yes. Because I have better stuff now. So on the other hand, you know, this is only for one content, and you interact with one content. But let's say that you want to interact with a list of contents, like a list of news or whatever. So you can go to views. I can explain how I create it. But I'm gonna reuse this one, so I know that the demo is gonna work, because I did this before and then it crashed miserably. So I'm gonna create a view from scratch, and we will see how this works. Like it's like my REST view, for example. Okay. What I'm gonna use is content of type all. It's perfect, and here REST export settings. I remember the time that we did this because this wasn't here before. You can create only in the beginning. You can create only pages and blocks, but in the conference in Hungary in DrupalCon, you remember you were there. Pieter, a Belgian guy, did this because I was complaining all the time. Like why there is not an option of creating a REST view here. So we were sprinting in the sprint room. And he did it in a couple of hours, and then Alex Pot committed in core. And it was super good because I could work on my demo much better. So it's like my REST view, for example, or let's say like a API. It's like this. I don't remember if it's trailing a slash or not. This. I save. You can see that the path is API my REST view, and then you have serializer, and you can just use JSON, for example, and then you can see here in the results in the preview, it's automatically exporting all the data, but the data really, really looks really ugly. So what you can do to make it a little bit better, instead of using entities, you can use fields. I know that there is a better way to do this, but anyway, I use raw output, apply. You can see that I'm exporting only the nodes, node titles. Why red test is here? What? Okay, it's yeah. I guess I know what is going on. It's
Flush the cache.
Are you sure? Yeah. Let's try that. When something is wrong, you know, with Drupal, it's always clear the cache. Yes? Okay, now cache is clear. I'm gonna update the preview. It's just still there. Okay, I don't have time to have a look at this, but this is pretty annoying. Okay, so in this case, I can add a new field. I add the body. I apply whatever. I go here. No, sorry. I go settings, and I also use raw output because I'm so picky with this stuff. Then you can see the, title and this, and test is still there. Okay, but this is how you create a list of content in JSON from Drupal. Okay, but you say, yeah, but this is so boring. Why am I gonna go do this? And I'm gonna show you a real sample. So in this case, what I did is created a view that I call it API comments. In this case, it's exactly the same what I did with title and body. The only thing that the endpoint is API and comments. And why I did this? Because I have this thingy. Test is there, as you can see. And this is just cloned from the React tutorial from React GitHub. It's just a clone of their. If you want to find it, it's github.com/. I have a fork of this in my GitHub, and it's this one. Okay, what I did is just clone it, and I manipulated a little bit. So I'm gonna show you what I did exactly in the. This was React tutorial public scripts. Exactly what I did is more or less here. Let me see if I can close this. Oh, no. Whatever. I changed the API or the endpoint of the API. So this web component will try to gather data every 2 seconds from this API. And what is this doing actually is providing here author and text, so 2 fields or let's say 2 fields. One is author, another is text, and they are more or less loaded here in the web component. Okay, it's like creating comments from using the author and the text. So what I did is exactly to match these names. I named the title like author and the body as text. That's all. It's like an alias. Okay. So in this case, you can see the preview that I have author is this, and text is the body. And for this, to make it cool, I can do something like this. Let me see. Yeah.
Ruben, when this updates or this checks for data every 2,000 milliseconds, every 2 seconds, does it automatically update the page as well?
Yeah, because it's React. So they are reactive components. So now what I did is I have the React application in this side of the screen, and in this side of the screen I have my Drupal with the content. And what I'm gonna do is to create a new content. Seriously, I don't know why this is there. So this is a demo in Frontend United Athens. The test node is really annoying. And what I do is I save and publish, and automatically it is loaded in the React applications. Simply, and it works. And seriously, it took me 5 minutes to manipulate a little bit the React. I don't know anything about React, you know. I just went through the more or less this, and it automatically worked. So those are my demos. Probably we have some minutes for 2 minutes for 5 minutes for questions or more demos. But I really want to show you the last stuff. That is some resources. I'm gonna share these slides with some resources. Probably I will put more links because a few of them are outdated. So ways of contribute to help us is there are a few issues that they need some love. So come to the code sprints. Do we have code sprints in Frontend United? Sunday? Which time? 10. Here.
No, it's the venue where we're gonna have the workshops. Impact Hub.
Okay, so Sunday at 10 in the venue with the workshops. Yes? Join the sprints. Rachel, are you gonna be here?
I'll be here.
Perfect. So contact Rachel. She is the best mentor ever. I'm not gonna be here sadly because I had to leave on Saturday evening because there were not flights on Sunday. So the next flight was on Wednesday, and then my manager is gonna kill me if I stay longer. I would like to stay longer, but you know I have to work sometimes and pay the rent. Questions? I really like this slide because then people freak out and they don't ask questions. You're gonna ask questions? Tell me.
Can I have the mic?
Yes.
Which Drupal version did you use for the demo?
8.2.
That's not supported. So just a question about the different request types. So you showed the batch request, but it looks like it's actually using the put HTTP request. Is that intentional for some reason that in the Drupal RESTful module that we've chosen to use the patch instead of put?
Yeah. Yeah. For updates,
yes.
You have patch or update, and it looks like there was an issue with update, and then you have to use patch. But I don't really remember. There is in the links there is the issue.
Yeah. So the problem with patch is that it's supposed to tell what is the difference instead of like replacing full fields. So it's actually a misuse of the HTTP request. However, the put HTTP request is like a full replace of the entity in the database.
Mm-hmm.
Just curious if there was some.
Yeah, no, but that makes sense. So when you are gonna update, sometimes you want to see if the difference, you know, and don't just replace it. And if there is a difference, then you replace it. No less.
Yeah, but this is a so the way we implement the HTTP requests right now is how put requests or update requests are implemented, not how batch requests are implemented. So it's actually like misusing the HTTP standard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I need to update my presentation.
You need to fix the module as well.
Yes.
Well, I think the whole internet is misused.
Hey Ruben, I joined a bit late, so maybe you already explained this, but I'm just asking. How in such a situation we should work with aliases, so that the end user visits like news/title of my news article. How does React know which node to fetch in Drupal?
with the clean URLs, you mean?
Yeah,
Node aliases.
Nice URLs. Yeah.
I haven't tried that. I use node IDs, but you want me to have a try?
I can.
Yes.
Same goes also for linking between like articles.
Yeah.
Point from a page
So it's good to have Laurie here.
He will answer my question.
So how we usually do is that so you have one endpoint. So you only use single endpoint for the whole site, which is basically get page by alias or something like that, and it will just return the data that you need to render a page, and it will tell on the main level of the API like what type of data it is. So and then you have a router on the React application which will render the page according to the data that it got from the endpoint. And there is a really good example of that in the Fubi's GraphQL example. It's obviously using GraphQL instead of something else, but it's definitely something that you can implement using any API standard, the very same approach. And it has an example of the React implementation as well. It works very well with GraphQL because of the Apollo client. It's built especially for that particular use case. So if you want to build something like that, I definitely suggest going with GraphQL because it's like perfect for that use case.
So in that case, then you get like two responses. The first one to resolve it.
So the question is, in that case, when you send a request with an alias to say what kind of entity this is, it's essentially two responses. One back saying, hey, this is you requested my page. It says, oh, actually that's at node 123. Then you got to go and request node 123 and render that, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that okay? That's working. Okay, cool.
So because of you tell which type of data it is on the main level of the response, then on the client side, the React will know which component it should use to render the page. And it works very well with, like, let's say, different node types. So you can tell, like, this is an article type of entity that I'm giving as a response, and then you know which fields should be available for that type.
I have a question for you. Do you know if Fubi finished the integration of GraphQL with views?
I don't think it's working yet. We are using GraphQL, and it's really easy to build those in code, and we've actually we prefer to not use the automated tools at all. So we've just replaced everything that the GraphQL module provides by definition, and then we create mapping for every entity by ourselves, because it allows us to build an API which is backwards compatible. Because of, like, when you build that kind of API, it's really important that you know when you're making changes that are going to break your client. And when you make everything like manually, you are not using views or the Node UI for creating the actual API. You always know that now I'm going to make a change that is going to break the client that we are using. And if you have multiple clients, it's even more complicated. So it's very important that you know what is the result of your change. And if you just make changes click on the Node UI, you can end up breaking your client pretty easy.
Sorry, we're still in your time for questions, but still it's open for anyone else. Out of time? Okay, anyway, I'm gonna be around tonight for the museum and some beers. Let me know if you have more questions later. Thank you.